rule for 2, 3, 5, 6, 9. And when I say checking the divisibility rule, it means I want to check if, let's say, for example, the number 24 is divisible by 2, 3, 5, 6, 9, or 10. What does it mean? That when I say 24 is divisible by 2, it means after doing the long division of 24 divided by 2, I will have an answer with no remainder. After doing the long division, the remainder is 0. Now we can do that and do the long division for each and single one of them and check if it's divisible or no by checking if at the end we will have a remainder or no. Well, this will be very hard, especially for big numbers, so we need to have some rules to be able to identify the divisibility rule for each and single one of them. And let's get started with 2. The divisibility rule by 2 is very simple. Simply, if I have the number ends with a 0, 2, 4, 6, and 8, in this case, I will consider the number is divisible by 2. For example, if I take 120, since it ends with with a 0, there we go, it is divisible by 2. Directly, I can consider it as divisible by 2. Let's take another number. Let's say I have 367. Here, it ends with 7, which is not in the list of 2, so directly I can say it is not divisible by 2. Taking another one, it doesn't matter how big or small it is, since it ends up with an even number, which is in this case 6, it means it is divisible by 2. And that's the divisibility rule by 2. Now let's go to the divisibility rule by 3. Here, the rule says if the sum of its digits is a multiple of 3. What does that mean? So let's take an example. Let's say I have the number 124, for example. The sum of its digits, that means I will do 1 plus 2 plus 4, which is in this case equals to 7. If the sum is a multiple of 3, that means it will be divisible by 3. Now in this case, 7 is not a multiple of 3, so the whole number is not divisible by 3. Let's take another example. Let's take, for example, 251. Add them together. 2 plus 5 is 7 plus 1 is 8. It is not a multiple of 3, so it's not divisible. Let's take another example. Let's say here we have 522. Let's do it. 5 plus 2 plus 2, it's equal to 9. Well, 9 is a multiple of 3, so I can simply say that 522 is divisible by 3. The divisibility rule by 5, it's very simple and easy. If it ends up with one of these two digits, either if it ends up with 0 or 5. Any number that ends up with 0 or 5, I can directly say it's divisible by 5. For example, 150, 220, 5,310, or I can say 105, 335, 1,005. There we go. Since it ends up with 0 or 5, I can simply say that this number is divisible by 5. Moving on to the divisibility rule by 6. Here it's very simple. If I have the number, if the number is divisible by 2 and divisible by 3 at the same time, I can directly say it is divisible by 6. Let's take a look. So let's take 116. First of all, it ends up with 6, so it is divisible by 2. Now, to check if it's divisible by 3, I will have to add the digits. So 2 plus 1 plus 6 equals to 9. And 9 is a multiple of 3, so it is divisible by 3 also. And since it's divisible by 2 and 3 at the same time, I will say it's divisible by 6. Now, if I found the number, it's divisible by 2 only or 3 only, it will not be divisible by 6. The divisibility rule by 9 is similar to the divisibility rule of 3, because also we need to check its sum of the digits, and it must be a multiple of 9. Very good. So again, let's take, for example, 522. 12. If I add it up, it will give me 8, not a multiple of 9. Let's take another example. Let's say 102. Add them up. It will become 1 plus 0 plus 2, which is equal to 3. 3 is a multiple of 3. So it's divisible by 3, but I cannot say that for the 9. Okay? I need to make sure it's divisible by 9, a multiple of 9. So let's take another example. Let's say 1260. Why not? In this case, I will add them up. So 1 plus 2 plus 6 plus 0, that gives me 9. And 9 is a multiple of 9, so I can say that this number is divisible by 9. And let's take this note. If a number is divisible by 9, that means for sure it is divisible by 3, since 9 is a multiple of 3. So there we go. The divisibility rule of 10, it's the easiest, simply if the number ends by 0. Any number that ends up with 0, it's simply divisible by 10. So for example, if I have 120, 100, 210, 1000, any number that simply ends with 0, consider it to be divisible by 10. There we go. Let's take a number, for example, 1410. And let's check, is it divisible by 2, 3, 5, 6, 9, and 10. Let's get started with the 2. It ends with a 0, so it is divisible by 2. Perfect. Now, as for the 3, I will have to add the digits. So 1 plus 4 plus 1 plus 0 gives me 6. 6 is a multiple of 3. So yes, it is divisible by 3. It ends with a 0. Okay, so again, I say it is a multiple of 5 because 5 says it is a divisible by 5 since it ends up with a 0 or 5. The 6 here, I see that it is divisible by 2 and 3 at the same time, so directly I can say yes for the 6. The 9, I will have to add the digits, which I already did here, but the answer is 6, which is a divisible by 3, but it is not for the 9. Okay, 6 is not a multiple of 9, so I will say no for the 9. And the easiest one, if a number ends up with a 0, it means for sure it is divisible by 10. And that'll be it for this video. Thank you for watching. If you have any questions, you can put it down in the comments below.